Hey guys, welcome back to Chlorinated Thoughts. Today I'm here with Olivia Smoliga.
Hey guys.
I'm so excited to have you on the podcast.
Same, I'm excited to be here.
If you guys don't know who Olivia Smoliga is, although I feel like everyone in the swimming world knows who you are. I feel like you're just like a staple name that like people say, you know what I mean? So, you're a two-time Olympian. You won an Olympic gold medal at the Rio 2016 Olympics and a bronze at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. And then you also won 8 gold medals at one single world championships in 2018, which at the time I heard was record breaking. And you also own multiple short course world medals, which is pretty cool because some people don't even have one.
Yeah.
So that's you as an athlete. And obviously, those are amazing achievements to have, like, as an athlete. But I feel like we never really get to see the side of athletes as people, or at least when I first came to ASU, I was really curious about all of the pro people being like, I was like, oh my God, how are they gonna be like as people? Because I never got to know you guys through social media or on podcasts as people. We only really mention your like athletic success, which is like obviously we would, but I want to get to know you on a more deeper level as a person. So, I wanted you to introduce yourself as a person without the athletic achievements.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's such a great question. And it's really cool. I agree. Like the majority of my whole life, whenever I'd been interviewed or whatever, it'd be at a swim meet or like any athlete for that matter. So it's really cool what you're doing with chlorinated thoughts and like just seeing, who the person is behind the cap and goggles and the
Yeah.
achievements and stuff. But the way that I would describe myself as a person outside of the sport, which was a hard thing to do, like because that's just been my identity for my whole life, like a student of life. Like I love to learn so much about myself, about life, about others. I was a psychology major, so that has always kind of been my draw. I've always been really interested in like spirituality, prayer and like when you just walked into my apartment, I was like, yeah, smudge the whole place with sage and Palo Santo like every morning. And I really love to tune in with myself and meditate in that way. And I've started doing more of those practices over the past couple years. Um, I love to cook. I love to hang with my friends. I've always been somewhat of a loner, I'd have to say. Like, ever since I was a kid. So in that way, I love to kind of be in my own world and create things. And then once they're ready, or once I'm ready, kind of like even in the swimming sphere.
Yeah.
I don't know. The way I would describe myself as a person too is I love beautiful things in life. Going on a walk and watching the sun setting, or cooking a homemade meal with my family, or something like anything that brings presence into my life is something that I've tried to cultivate, I think, my whole life. So, yeah.
Oh, I really love that answer.
Oh,
And I
thanks.
think I can like relate to a lot of the things that you mentioned. So it was even hard for me to think about like who am I as a person. So
Yeah.
I can only imagine if like you're filled with all of this like success and achievements and like people telling you that I don't know, I feel like a good example is Hosuka Tinka, that she was called Iron Lady. And it's like, okay, but I'm also like a human maybe, you know what I mean? I want to start off from the beginning. I want to flip the point of view of like not your journey as in like what you achieved throughout the years, just like emotionally how your journey went.
Yeah, the journey, I think, swimming is like an avenue. It's just a platform in which you experience life. So what any type of profession you do, or job, or just living life, you'll experience the same ups and downs in life
Yeah.
as you do in swimming. That just happened to be my choice. So the two go hand in hand. Who I am as a person, experiencing the emotion of going after something, like going after like a really big goal. Like if you go after something that's really going to stretch your capacity as a human, you're going to face challenges, you're going to face setbacks, you're going to face not the most pleasant things. But then also, you may happen to have the achievements and the successes and the glory and the, yeah,
Happiness
happiness. And
yeah.
yeah, but that is just describing life.
Mm-hmm.
That just describes what we all go through. I think it was hard for me to recognize, like, that when I was attaching myself to the failure or when I was attaching myself to the success, I suffered a lot mentally.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I had a really great practice, I'm on top of the world, I'm pumping my chest, I'm that girl, it's like
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah.
it's like when you attach to that, you will fall to the failure as well emotionally. So let's say you have a shitty practice, then you walk out and you're down bad because you care about what you do, right? It's like
Yeah.
normal. But I found that, like, the most successful people that I like follow or watch interviews of, and I mean, I was surrounded by some of the
Yeah.
best athletes of the world my entire career, that they're able to have this good ego, like healthy ego, to kind of,
Mm-hmm.
like, I believe in myself, I'm
Mm-hmm.
worthy of this success.
Yeah.
That's what you want to believe in yourself, you want to feel that you're totally worthy. But they let things kind of roll off their back to the best of their ability.
Mm-hmm.
So in my journey within the sport, that was the hardest lesson for me to learn. How do I
Yeah.
let it roll off my back?
How did you do that?
Oh, through a lot of like disappointment. I feel like I got my ass kicked in order to learn that lesson. Like, I'm a very big
Mm-hmm.
believer that, like, let's say you're hitting a wall with something, you're like experiencing the same thing. You have this like same pattern that's happening. Like, this is why does this keep happening to me? Like, I'm aware that, I don't like this or whatever,
Yeah.
Like, so why do I keep facing it? And to my experience, you keep facing it until you really can overcome it. So I think, like, on my journey, I really had to face these really uncomfortable emotions in order to really integrate them,
Mm-hmm.
surpass them, to be free of them. That's like
Mm-hmm.
what we want. I think
Yeah.
we're all after this freedom
Yeah.
of, like, not being so bound by, like, all of
Mm-hmm.
these things. And so I think I just learned the really hard way. The way that I learned it, I guess, yes, through experience, through trial and error, through not being so hard on myself. That was like the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was so hard on myself, and then once I finally realized that I was hard on myself, I started seeing it outside of me too. Like, everyone is hard on themselves. I'm like, damn, yo, like, take it easy. It's sport, but it's just life
Mm-hmm.
too.
Yeah. When did you feel like you felt this breakthrough in swimming and realized that, okay, this is what I want to be doing for longer, or like I'm actually capable of like being really good at this?
I remember I was like 9 years old watching the 2004 Olympics and being like, I want to do that. Like, it just caught my eye. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, like, you have to be a little bit delusional.
Yeah.
you know, you have
Yeah.
to when you go after something that hasn't been done before, let's say your family hasn't had, like, I didn't have swimmers in my family, like,
Mm-hmm.
or anything like that. And so I just, like, came up with this thing, okay? And, like, I just thought I could do. I was like, yeah, I want to be an Olympian. Yeah. And it's like, I have no evidence to back that claim up. Like, if you
Yeah.
really go through in your mind, it's like,
Yeah.
well, that does, A plus B doesn't equal C. And it's like, well, you're not dealing with math in the dream world, like,
Yeah,
for real.
literally.
And so when I was, like 9, and then as I got a bit older, I started getting a bit better. I had a growth spurt, like,
Mm-hmm.
but really, I got so lucky with my club coach, Steve
Mm-hmm.
Ida, in Glenview, Illinois, where I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
And he just believed in me. He was so innovative. He kept things fresh,
Mm-hmm.
and 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 always just believed in me. Like,
Yeah.
it wouldn't let me talk poorly about myself. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Um, I would get my ass kicked if I needed to get it kicked. You know what I mean? But he would never talk poorly about me. So that coaching style, I think, is, you know really beneficial to me growing up. But then the next Olympics came. It was uh, or 2012, no, 2008, I think. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
2008
Yeah.
came, and I just had this, like, fire under me where I was like, running hills in my park, and I was doing sprints in the field, and I had no business doing any of this. Like I had no knowledge. I think I just probably saw some like really inspirational sports movie that they were like running slow-mo in the rain. I'm like, I'm gonna do that because I'm gonna be like a star. I'm gonna be a star. And so I'd be like running these hills, running in the rain, just doing all this extra work.
Yeah.
Somehow intrinsically it just moved me. I began like, making A finals at Tier Pro Series, at my state championship in high school. I was breaking national records, I was getting noticed by colleges. But then when I went to 2012 Olympic trials, I was 17 and I broke a minute for the first
Wow.
time.
That's amazing.
Thank
That's
you.
so cool.
Yeah, and at the time, no, not many people had, done it. Yeah, it was a really big deal, and like it was then when I was like, no, I definitely could do this. But I got fourth, so I missed the Olympic team,
Yeah.
and that was like that was like my first big failure.
I
That really
bet.
was like a canon event.
Canon
A
event.
canon event
Yeah. That's
for
so
me.
good. Yeah, I think that's really cool to have. I think everyone has that time in their lives where they're like, I cannot believe I was like you. Like I cannot believe I was running hills. Like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
even me, like I think that moment for me when I was the most motivated I've ever been was when I moved to Hungary because like I got into the national team and I was like, okay, maybe like I can do something with this, you know? And I left like my parents, my family, my friends in Kuwait, and then I went to live with my uncle
Yeah.
to like pursue swimming, and I was homeschooled, and I remember in like the first 2 years, yeah, I was so dedicated. Like I would just only do anything, everything for swimming.
Yeah.
And I think people that pursue a sport and are so committed to a sport, I think all of us have kind of, it's a blessing. It's a really a blessing, but I think not many people have it. I think it's like a kind of an abnormal thing in our brain where we really 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 want to do something.
Hmm.
And even in practices, I know Logan, our coach, tells us so many times like it's so hard to reach that kind of like pushing your body physically to the point where like you think you're gonna literally die. Like I feel like it's so rare to experience that if you're not an athlete, especially if you're not an endurance athlete, because I feel like you can lift a lot of weight and stuff, but I don't know if you feel that type of pain that you do during practice in swimming especially. So yeah, I think it's really cool that a lot of us can become so passionate about something
Yeah.
and like yeah, pursue it no matter what. Let's go back to your canon events.
Yeah.
What do you think? I guess let's. I don't know how many canon events you have. So let's highlight some of your canon events that the audience can resonate with if they're going through a tough time, because everyone does.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, I guess like I had two back to back. So like breaking the minute barrier and then the next day. So I did that in semis in 2012.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, I was third going into finals. I was like, I am right there, bro. Like I got one more spot. And then the next day I got fourth. So it was like two huge ones back to back. It was like, I have the capability, I can taste it, I'm right there. I feel it. And like I look back now and I think to myself like that I just wasn't ready. And I probably just wasn't prepared to the best of my ability, like in many ways. I don't know, but it just happened for its reason to happen for me to learn. I remember it so vividly. Like I saw my name, I got fourth. I knew where my parents were sitting in the stands and I caught their eye. And how in an arena can you do that? Like, but I did somehow. And I saw them and they were just looking at the Jumbotron and they're so proud of me. And they of course, my whole career and everything. But I saw them and I just felt like I disappointed them so much. Like I let them down. Because it was not like they were, jumping up and down and everything. Because they wanted it too. They wanted it for me as well. So I just felt that, and I felt like I let myself down, I let my coach and my family down. And it was at that point where there this thing that happened that I only understood years later, that I like feared the failure. Like I feared feeling that again.
Yeah.
Like I feared the shame that is around it, or the like everyone's gonna talk about me, or they saw how bad I messed up. Like like I'm just so embarrassed.
Especially us as people,
Hmm.
we think about ourselves and like, oh my god, everyone's watching me right now.
Yeah,
Like we really don't. I mean, now I realize it, but like even like I have relatable experiences too. At the time,
yeah,
we don't think that, we really think that everyone is looking at us and everyone
hmm,
is like talking bad about us, but
yeah,
it's like all in our head, you know?
yeah, for sure. It's all in our head. Yeah, because it's like our life is the only one we know the best. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so that was like I remember going back to like the warm down pool, and we get the like medals for each place. Top 8 does, and I had the fourth place one, and yeah, I just remember giving it to my coach and just crying. And the thing is, like, I always feel I've been like a cheerful
Mm-hmm.
person, but I just like couldn't be cheerful, like,
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted everyone to feel all right about it. I'm like, guys, it's fine, like it's fine, like I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. But it it changed it. Like I don't know, failure changed it. And obviously, in the grand scheme of
Yeah.
things, it's like not that big of a
Yeah,
life
but
goes
it,
on. We're blessed and everything,
mhm,
but
it makes you scared though.
it makes you
Yeah, it
scared.
makes you really like,
Yeah.
because yeah, it's kind of like when you win, you
Hmm.
want the feeling of winning again, but when you
Totally.
lose, you never want to like feel that ever again.
Ever again. And I think the reason I didn't want to feel it, A, is because like I had a goal and I didn't reach it, but B, because I was making it mean something about myself too,
Mhm. Mhm.
in some ways. There was this whisper, it's like, oh, you weren't good enough in the first place. Why'd you even try anyway?
Mhm.
This
Mhm.
like thing. Versus a different approach where you can say, man, that sucks, right?
Yeah.
But fourth place out of everyone, and you dropped the second, and like you did this thing, big thing, and blah blah blah, and you got so much life, so much ahead of you, and like
Mhm.
it, and that type of mentality definitely is a beneficial one in the long run because I just saw my coach last month. I went to Chicago, and he was like, yeah, some people just forget that it's a marathon and it's not a sprint. And we're on
Mhm.
Instagram and we see everybody's successes. And it's like,
Yeah.
but do you know how many years put into that overnight,
Yeah.
success? Like, do you have any idea? And then I had a lot of work to do around that in a way to just make it be like, no, we move on. We brush
Yeah.
it off and we move on.
Yeah.
That's the only way. That's how you build resilience. That's what the best
Mhm.
champions in the world do. You're
The
good.
tough times and the good times are going to make you and your coach so much like more close, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
I think if you have a good coach and like your coach supports you no matter what, I think that relationship can be so special. For me, my coach back home in Hungary was a man, and he was kind of like this like mentor slash like second father figure to me, you know?
Hmm.
And I think whenever we went through something good and also whenever we went through something bad, like he always taught me something to like gain from it. And so, yeah, I wanted to ask you, like, how do you think those experiences shaped the relationship you have with your coach now? Because clearly you guys are still good.
Yeah, no, we're so good. He's been like my guru. He was like a second father figure to me.
Mm-hmm.
I've known him since I was like 10 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I've been really blessed with amazing coaches who um, have supported me in both my successes and let me literally cry on their shoulders when I fail.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's so interesting because I think a great coach will do that for you,
Mm-hmm.
but they will also help you realize that it's like you have to rely on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because yeah, my coaches could have supported me throughout all of the tough times, but it was me who would be beating myself up,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like, where does that come from? And I think as we become more autonomous as we get older, because it's so easy, when you're like a kid, coach and your parents are telling you what to do every single day, and it's
Yeah.
really nice, you got your whole everything figured out. But then as you get older and you have more autonomy in your life, like that's where you have to start, or you could be encouraged to start taking more responsibility,
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. You
yeah,
start to think for yourself too. You start
yeah,
to maybe think like, okay, maybe this isn't the best for me, what my
right,
coach is saying, or like you start to
yeah,
have, I remember I had attitude with my coach when I was going through my teenage years.
No, me too.
And it's like, yeah, you start to think for yourself as you get
Yeah,
older.
exactly. No, and I had the same thing. Yeah, I had quite an attitude. Like Brian Smith at Georgia could tell you, yeah, even Steve could tell you. But I think it can also be so nuanced where it's like, yeah, you have an attitude because you don't want to do something because you're a bit burnt out. Maybe you need like a break or something like that. Or it could just be like, oh, this you're not gelling with your coach and you need to rethink or something like that. But the best coaches trust you as an athlete, I think, because I would hope that the great coaches see you and like trust in your ability to create goals and stuff like that, and know that you want to be there as much as they want to be there. Yeah, it was I had an experience with Herbie actually, um 2 years ago. I was at a Tier Pro series, and he's like, I don't know, I was like going through it or something, and he was like, you don't have to convince me that you want to swim. Like, I know you want to swim or something like that. Or not that I was trying to convince him. I have to think of the specific example. He's like, I know you want to be here. And I was like, wow, yeah, I do. I don't know why I was feeling all this pressure to like make it seem like, yes, I want to be here. Like, of course. But a lot of stuff, dealing with some injury and everything that maybe I needed to take some time away and rethink. But I learned through it too. And anyway, that was just like one specific example. But and so many I could name with Herbie, honestly, that he just really reshaped my thinking about what a coach can be. And yeah.
Speaking of like Herbie, I know he has a really different approach to swimming and like practices and everything. And I want to ask, like, have you ever experienced burnout? Has
Yeah.
that been something in your life?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, you do. I think the reason that you feel burnout, and through reflection of like some periods in my career where I did, is because you kind of are like flying too close to the sun in a way. It's like your whole life gets consumed by what you're doing. You don't have any hobbies outside of what you're doing. You're not really engaging with your friends as much
Yeah.
because you're so focused. And it's like, yeah, sometimes you can get caught in being like, no, I gotta focus. Like, I have no time for anything else. And then your life becomes whatever it is that you're doing. But you burn, what's it called? The two candles at two sides of the stick, or whatever the saying is.
The
Yeah.
rope just disappears.
It disappears. Yeah. I think the reason I got into it was because I felt like I was putting so much pressure on myself in order to like go and achieve these things. And I always wanted to one up myself. So I was like, no distractions, no outside things. Man, you just get in your head. And I think that's when you need a break. I think when you get into your head so much that you can't, you know what I'm saying? Like, go get dinner with a friend, and let's say it goes past 9:30,
And you're like,
and you're like, oh God, am I gonna get enough sleep before practice? Bro, chill. Like, really.
Yeah.
Me to my past self. But I love my past self. I love her. I love her so much. She's a beast. Like, she really like just just gritted it out. But sometimes you don't have to. Sometimes you really gotta like take a little bit of a breather. Like, you're working so hard, man. Like, you're working so hard. Like, go get an ice cream. Like, you're okay. Like, there was one time 2 years ago where I like was having a bad string of practices or whatever, and I was like, I'm going to McDonald's. Like, I'm just getting whatever. I'm just getting a McDonald's McFlurry. I come to the next practice. I have a great practice, and Herbie's like, so what? Like, what happened? Like, something is like good or what? Like, you seem like good. And I was like, yeah, I just got a McFlurry last night. Like, I really need it. He's like, oh, cool. And then like the next year, I was having like a bad string, and he was just like, maybe
You need a
go to
McFlurry.
McDonald's or something. Like, sometimes we get in this pattern. Not we. I won't speak for everyone. I'll talk about myself. Sometimes I would get in this pattern where I would get so hard on myself that I couldn't see past this tunnel I was making, and that constricts you.
Yeah. I'm going home for Christmas, and it means I'll miss one practice Saturday morning because I'm gonna leave a day early because
Yeah.
I'm like halfway across the world.
Right.
Um, And Herbie is totally fine with it, and I'm also coming a day later because I'm halfway across the world.
Right, right.
And I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna miss one practice. Like, what's gonna happen? Nothing is gonna happen. It's honestly gonna be fine.
Yes.
I'm like, oh my
Yes.
god, I'm gonna sit on the plane and I can't go to practice because I'm gonna be on the plane for 10 hours. Like, it's literally fine. Like,
Yes.
be in the moment. And I think what made me realize that, or like, what made me more comforted was the people around me that didn't feel that way. Like,
Mhm.
I know a lot of people back home. I was training for junior open water worlds, and I'm so happy this girl was my roommate
Yeah.
because she was just like this free soul. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I'm a free soul as well,
Mm.
but she was just like, she does whatever she wants, you know.
Mhm.
She goes to the festivals, she goes to the concerts, she does like whatever she wants, and she kills it in the pool. And I think when that happened to me, she inspired me to make swimming enjoyable, you know,
Yes.
because we literally start swimming because we enjoy it, and then I
Yeah.
think along the way we forget that we're doing this because we love to do it, you know.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think it's really important to tell yourself and like emphasize that, you know, missing practice is not the end of the world. So
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely different mindsets. You know, I think it's like just periods in the life, in the season where you're at, that I think make like the difference, you know?
So I want to talk about the good parts as well.
Yeah, of course.
What are like the canon events that you had in your life that were more positive and like
Mm.
really made you feel amazing?
Yeah, it's cool. I have like a lot. I think I guess tying it back from like the last trials in 2012 and then bringing it back to 2016 where I made the team and I was first, and that was really cool. But it's so crazy, like when these beautiful things happen, which like tells you a lot about, I guess me, like that sometimes you can be so hard on yourself, and then when the good things happen, it's just like, oh, that's amazing, like, but we're good, like on to the next.
Yeah.
Imagine, so like you do that with your successes, but
Yeah.
you don't do that with failures, and it's
Mm-hmm.
so interesting,
Yeah,
it's like,
the contrast. Yeah.
yeah, it's only in my reflection where I'm like, oh my god, that was so incredible, like that trials was so fun. My collegiate career was amazing. um, Winning NCAA's, and then winning a team title also at NCAA's. Canon event.
Canon
Love
event.
my dogs. Love my dogs. Like, so beautiful when you're able to be a part of a team and you're going after the same goal, and then everyone is attuning to that goal, and they like love you, they trust you, they support you, they hold you accountable. Really beautiful experience. Um, Another one, yeah, was short course worlds. That was a beautiful one. But it's so crazy because it just happened, and it's just like, oh,
Okay.
yeah,
Done.
it's crazy. It's so
Yeah.
nuts. And it's like that is like, oh yeah, it's definitely celebrated, amazing. But then you just go on to the next
I
because
gotta keep working. Like, I gotta put
yeah,
my head down.
no, for sure. But for me, it wasn't like that. It was like I'm like, oh, this makes sense for me right now. Like it was like that, and in the best way. Like it's just like, yes,
Yeah.
this I worked for this. This is amazing.
Yeah.
I it was my time
Yeah.
to get this thing. And it's so crazy when the opposite happens. You're just like, no, man, I don't know what does this mean about me, man.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like,
really
what is this gonna,
interesting.
like, do I have to rethink this whole thing? It's like, no, man, you just gotta be like, man, it happened, I'm on to the next.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's crazy that the timelines we give for ourselves with the negative versus the positive. Like, yeah, a negative thing can affect you for, honestly, it could, if you let it, it can affect you for the rest of your life.
I think that's like, that's not, that's I feel that way. I was about to say, it's like, that's not a stretch, like that seems real. Yeah, because negative has such a, it's like a pull, it just pulls you down. But when you're positive, you're super light, and it's like you let it roll off you. I mean, yeah, you gotta have both. You can't have one without the other or whatever. But no, I totally agree. And then another event, so I missed the world's team in 2022, but then I came back and I made it in 2023 under Herbie.
That's so cool.
And it was crazy because in 2022 I moved to ASU to train with Bob. He was so incredible to me in 2021 trials.
Mm-hmm.
I I missed the women's 100 back. I got third, you know how it is. It's just tough.
Yeah.
And then I had to just that I was actually so proud of myself because I was like, I'm shaking it off. I have 2 days to readjust, and the 100 free is the next day. And Bob would be around Keenan Robinson, who's our high performance guru. He would get our lactate. And